Alright, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Cinecosma. My name is Shavana, and on this platform, I like to talk about movies and stories through an astrology lens. As you can see on screen, today we're going to be talking about movies that I feel like explore Taurus themes. We are in Taurus season, so let's get to it. I feel like before you can know what movies explore Taurus themes, you have to know what Taurus is about. Like, you have to know what to look for. You have to know what you're looking at when you're watching a film and you want to turn on your like astrology brain. You have to know what Taurus is about, right? So here are some general facts. You can see the season that which you're currently in, the ruling planet, element, all that good stuff. I want to just focus on the keywords and the shadow side, which is the little blurb at the bottom. So some keywords to describe Taurus: stability, endurance, loyalty, sensuality, comfort, material success. And on the shadow side, we have stubborn, possessive, materialistic or greedy, resistant to change, indulgent, and complacent. These are the typical ways that you would see a Taurus described, both positively and negatively. Taurus is the second zodiac sign following Aries, which, by the way, I do have Aries up. The goal is to go in order for each season. So I have Aries up. You can check that out. I'll link the video in the description section. But today we're focusing on Taurus today, right? So these keywords, I really want you to keep in mind as I go throughout this video, because these are going to be the things that you look for when you're looking at a movie. But let me continue so that you guys can get more of an understanding of what I mean. So taking those words that I just said, now we're going to apply it to storytelling, specifically for movies. And the question that we're asking in today's video is, how does the Taurus archetype show up on screen thematically? And I want to emphasize thematically because we're looking at the themes of movies, not one story element in isolation, but the overall theme of the movie. So now on the screen, I have the typical themes, not all of them, but some of the main ones that I feel like if you're watching a movie and the movie is about these themes right here on screen, you could argue that it's probably exploring Taurus themes, right? So starting with the first paragraph, stories about stability and security. These are stories where we're seeing a character creating a stable life for themselves or their family, protecting home and resources, and choosing structure over chaos. The next paragraph is stories about value and material success, money, wealth, and financial security, building something that lasts, defining self-worth through what is gained or sustained. What this means is that one aspect of Taurus is building a stable life and accumulating resources and assets, whatever that might be for you, and just building value in life. And again, whatever that means for you. In this case, a lot of stories do explore literal value, literal assets. So these could be stories where we're seeing a character who goes from poor to having money and wealth. That's like a very clear way to see Taurus, because Taurus does rule money, assets, and resources. So whenever you're watching a story or like a movie, same also applies with shows too, but we're just talking about movies, where it's about resources and the lack thereof, and we're seeing the character try to obtain these resources, you could argue that it's leaning towards Taurus territory. In the third paragraph, we have stories about endurance and patience, slow, steady progress, persistence over time, and staying grounded through challenges. Taurus is not a fast sign, unlike the sign that precedes them, Aries. Taurus is on the slower end of things, but the thing with Taurus is that they can last long and they can stick it out for whatever goal or accomplishment. If a Taurus feels like it's worth it, they can tap into this endurance that almost any other sign doesn't really have, and they can last and stay the course. Tauruses are also very loyal too, so they can just be loyal. They can be loyal to people, they can be loyal to their goals, their ambitions, and they won't give up on people, and they won't give up on their goals and their ambitions. In the fourth paragraph, we have stories about comfort and pleasure. That's exploring the five senses, beauty, luxury, and indulgence, and enjoying the physical world. These are stories where it could either be about a character who's just wealthy and living in their riches and just showing, like, the story could be about what people do with money and how they live a wealthy lifestyle, whether that's in a positive thing or a negative thing. Or it could be stories about the literal earth, and these are like environmental stories because Taurus is an earth sign. And so these could be stories where it could be like a documentary on earth, like just the physical world, the actual natural world that, you know, this planet that we live on. And then in the last paragraph, we have stories about Taurus's shadow. So this is greed, overindulgence, materialism, complacency, staying in comfort zone. Again, this could be a character that is greedy themselves or overindulgent themselves, or that could be their obstacle. That could be the challenge. Maybe somebody else is greedy, and now we're watching a character who has to fight their way through an antagonist who's being greedy against them and or towards them. Let's look at some story examples so now I can tie it all together. So starting with example 1, on the left side, we have 2 films, The Pursuit of Happyness and Meet the Browns. These 2 stories are about stability and building life. That aspect of Taurus. These stories focus on building stability and creating a secure life. Characters work patiently towards something lasting, where success is defined by what they can sustain and protect over time. In other words, these 2 stories involve characters who start out with nothing, but at the beginning of the film, no money, no resources, no roof over their heads, and then by the end of the story, they go from not having to having. They go from lacking to no longer lacking. Now they have the stability, now they have the roof over their head, and now they have the money too. Even though these stories are exploring the same themes, the plot is obviously a little different. Either way, it's still the same thematically. They're going from lacking in resources, lacking stability, to obtaining that by the end of the film. And so this is an example of a story that is exploring Taurus themes, in my opinion. So let's move on to example 2. So example 2, we have Julie and Julia in Ratatouille. These stories explore food, pleasure, and craft. They center on the senses, taste and touch, beauty and creation. Taurus energy appears through passion for craft, indulgence in experience, and finding purpose through what feels good and fulfilling. I don't know if you guys have seen any of these 2 films. They focus heavily on chefs and cooking. Taurus is connected to food as well. And so in these stories, we're seeing 2 chefs who have a passion, not just for just simply food in itself, but actually the craft behind it and also the experience behind it. So it's not just let me, cook and then eat. Like, I want to plate it nicely. I want to make it in a whole entire experience. And I think these 2 stories do a really good job in different ways of showing that aspect of Taurus. And again, these do involve food, but it doesn't have to be about food. If you see a story where we're watching a character really indulge in their passion for whatever it is and crafting it, taking their sweet time to craft and make something an experience, it is probably exploring the Taurus themes of pleasure, craft, and endurance as well. So let's continue on with example 3. I feel like these ones are a little bit more obvious and straight to the point. So we have The Green Planet and Planet Earth. These stories highlight the physical world, nature, landscapes, and the beauty of the earth itself. Taurus energy is expressed through texture, environment, and the sensory experience of being fully present in the material world. So in these stories, we're not seeing people, we're seeing the literal earth itself, the animals. We're seeing both the beauty, all of the different textures, all the different plants, animals, etc. This is also leaning towards Taurus territory. The earth it's a resource itself. It is a natural resource, especially for us humans and animals. So this is the last example, example 4. we have Squid Game and The Platform. Both of these stories explore survival, again, with the topic of resources and value. These stories explore the shadow side of Taurus, where survival is tied to resources and material security. Characters are driven by the fear of lacking, revealing how the desire for stability can turn into desperation, greed, and moral compromise. So, in these two stories, they are obviously completely different in vibe. Well, not even, I wouldn't even say completely different. There are some similarities in both of these stories. In both of these stories, the characters are in a secluded area, an area that's not the real natural world wherever they live. And now they're fighting for survival, essentially. Although in Squid Game, they're fighting way more than they are in The Platform. But the ultimate topic of the story is the same, the ultimate theme, which is about not having resources and those who do have resources. But this is more on the extreme side, the shadow side of Taurus, showing what people are capable of doing when they lack resources. Unlike in the first example with the pursuit of happiness in Meet the Browns, those characters were lacking too, but they didn't go so far as to start, unaliving people and stuff like that. They went about it in a different direction. But in these two stories, people are forced to fight. Now, I will say they are forced into it. They're not necessarily doing it on their own will. I mean, they're doing it on their own will, but it's because that's part of like the rules in the world that they're in. In Squid Game, the rule is you got to win the game, and to win the games, you have to harm people. And the same applies with The Platform. Eventually, harm comes their way because you have to survive. And so these two stories kind of explore Taurus on the shadow side of things, where it shows the negative things that people are willing to do to obtain resources. For Squid Game, it's mainly about money. For The Platform, it's mainly about food. Those are what they use as a plot device, but underneath it all, it's all of it is resources, assets, stability, and just trying to survive in the natural material world. And both money and food are also Taurus keywords. So I feel like these two stories are great because a lot of people think Taurus energy is just like lighthearted. And so this is what Taurus looks like, or can look like, in its dark side. It can look like Squid Game, or it can look like The Platform. Both of these are also on Netflix, so if you haven't seen them, go check it out on Netflix. But let's summarize everything. Taurus stories are about building and maintaining a stable life, or simply trying to survive. Characters seek money, security, comfort, and structure. Success is defined by what they can create and keep over time. At its worst, this becomes greed, overindulgence, or fear of change. So actually going back to these stories right here, in Squid Game, there are two different types of people. There's the ones who are fighting for survival, and then there's the ones who are already wealthy, which is like the VIPs, who are looking at these games as a source of entertainment. So they represent Tauruses who already have the wealth. They're not fighting for survival, but now they're using their wealth in unethical ways. And the same also applies with The Platform. The people, well, I don't want to tell the story. I don't want to tell the story, actually. So you have to watch The Platform and then come back to this video and let me know what you gather from The Platform, because I want to see if you guys can pick up what I'm thinking about right now. But I mean, and I know I kind of explained Squid Game, but that's just because Squid Game was the bigger story. So I assume that everyone knows about Squid Game. But if not, now you guys have stories for you guys to watch. The Pursuit of Happiness, Meet the Browns, Julie and Julia, Ratatouille, The Green Planet, Planet Earth, Squid Game, and The Platform. So that is all I have for this video. Hopefully it was quick and to the point. I didn't want to dive too much into detail because I'll have plenty more videos on Taurus in storytelling, as well as all the other signs and archetypes in astrology and storytelling as well. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please follow me on all of the platforms at Cinecosma. I'm active on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube mainly, but more than likely, if I start being active on any other platform, it'll be under the name Cinecosma. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel so you can get more videos like this. Feel free to email me if you have any questions or any suggestions for anything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.